Well, welcome to the Christy Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life, and I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Well, hey, my friend, welcome back to another week on the podcast. We are right in the middle of summer. So I want to do something a little different this week on the podcast. And I'm basically going to bring you on the inside of my membership group, the Flourishing Edge membership. Now, I haven't done this before. So I was like, which episode, what month do I want to share with you right now? And here's what I decided to do. This podcast is going to be a live Q&A that I do. I do a Q&A session at the end of each month with inside the Flourishing Edge membership. And this particular one, I cover a variety of topics. I talk about self-care. I talk about keeping your joy. Each month, members write into me. They, drop me an email. They DM me. Sometimes they come live on the call, but I didn't choose that one for today. Instead, I've chosen one where they have sent their questions into me and I'm giving, coaching and tips, tools, skills on how to move through their exact questions and issues. So buckle up. It's going to be a good episode. You're going to love it. And this will be one that you want to save and definitely come back and listen again. All right, let's dive into it. All right, well, let's get started. Welcome you guys to the Flourishing Edge InnerCircle. So glad you are here for the live session. As you know, every month I am showing up inside the InnerCircle to coach you live, to answer your questions. Many of you send your questions in ahead of time, and I get those either through DMs or sometimes I get them in my email inbox. There's many ways for you to reach out to me. So I try to make that as easy as possible. But this is the session at the end of each month where I answer your questions. I dive into what you want to talk about. Maybe it's what we've been talking about and what I've been coaching on throughout the month. And maybe it's something that's really just more relevant for you right now. Like this is your chance to get coached each month on something that could be most beneficial to you at this moment. So that is why I do the live sessions. So I can get your feedback, get your questions from what we've talked about all month, but then also I give you a chance to come to the group, come into this membership and say, hey, here's my challenge. This is my question. And that way I can give you some real material that's going to help you right now. Because honestly, at the end of the day, when you are taking in and you're pouring into your personal growth and you're learning these new thought patterns and new techniques and new ways to look at things, and you're just stimulating your own personal growth, all of that is basically, I like to describe it as like you're just building your own toolkit for life, honestly. Like you are just preparing yourself with all the tools and practices and things that are going to help you build the life you desire. They're going to help you show up in your life in the way that you want to. So when you can come to me and you have something that's like going on right now that I've got to get over this hump before I can really concentrate on, something else, that's what this moment's for. That's what this session is for as well. So always know you can reach me through DMs, you can reach me through email, and you can let me know what is it that you want me to talk about in this session at the end of each month. All right, so I've got a few questions that came in. Some are still just came in, and I was checking my email for those. So if I want to be sure and hit those as well. So I'm going to be checking my phone and making sure I don't miss anyone's request. Because look, I get it. Like I wait till the last minute on a lot of things too. So most of your questions come in the last You can send them anytime, by the way, throughout the month. But I also understand you. You're busy, you got things going on, and you see that last email from me, or you see that story that I did on social media, on Instagram or on Facebook, and you're like, "Oh crap. It's tomorrow. I've got to get my question in." And they all come in like right at the last minute, which I'm completely fine with. I understand because I'm like that. So, I'll be checking my phone, making sure I got everything before we hop off of here. All right. So this, as you know, if you're not able to make the live, this is being recorded and it will be on the dashboard inside the inner circle for you to refer back to at any time. All right. So let me just kind of recap really quickly on what we've been talking about this month inside the membership, and just kind of skim the surface on that a little, because maybe you've missed one of the weeks. And again, this is something you do at your own pace. I do not want you to feel overwhelmed. This is like the last thing you need to feel is overwhelmed and that you're missing something. You are getting whatever you need right on time. Always know that the universe delivers exactly what you need at the right moment. So you're not behind, you're exactly where you need to be. And all of that stays on the dashboard so you can get to it. So this month we've talked about joy, and we've talked about ways to really make sure you're paying attention to ways that you can nourish yourself. We talked about self-care. So let me start off talking about joy. And I started the month off talking about keeping your joy, because what an important skill to have. What an important skill to master. That regardless of whatever is going on in your world, that you can get quiet and find a way to get inside of your thoughts and the inner part of you and still find your joy, even when all heck is breaking loose on the outside. So in keeping your joy, it's really a few things just to remind you on, if you already saw that in week one, but let me just remind you that it's key to manage your thoughts. So important to manage your thoughts. It always comes down to managing our brains. Our brains are so good. Have you ever noticed that? Like, it loves to take a storyline and just like, it may not be worst case scenario right now, but our brain will take it to worst case scenario if we let it, right? And then sometimes it goes to best case scenario. I mean, the brain is just, we've got to manage it. That's why we got to manage our thoughts. We have to manage our thoughts, and you have the ability to do that. Now, in the previous month, I have talked about our thoughts, our circumstances, and then thoughts, feelings, and actions, and how those are connected, and how you're an active participant in that. So if you need to go back and do a refresher on that, definitely do that. Go back and watch that video. So you've got to manage your thoughts. I also encourage you to take note of what to be grateful for in your life. We always have something to be grateful for, even in the darkest of days and the toughest nights. I've told this story inside the membership in previous months that, man, I had some dark times. I had some really challenging times. I was crying on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m. because it looks like the whole world is imploding in on you. And this was years ago. I was just really, really at a rock and I was backed in a corner. You ever felt like that? You're backed in a corner. You're trying to find solutions to problems that seem so insurmountable. And I was about 24 years old of this particular time I was thinking of. And so bawling my eyes out, night after night after night between 2 and 4 a.m. and just really just searching, praying, seeking, trying to stay in that joyful state, even though things were so hard and seemed so dark. But it was in that moment, in those days, that I really understood how to still find my joy. Because see, even in those really, really, really tough times, that is when I was able to still, I just didn't let it steal my joy. And yes, it wasn't ideal. And yes, it was really hard. And yes, it was painful. And yes, I did not have an answer. And yes, I did not see a way out. But I did not let that steal my joy. So I think that is such an important trait and tool and skill to get really good at. Because it's when we operate from a place where we are not, we don't have that inner spark of joy. Now, when I talk about joy and that inner spark of joy, that is much different than just walking around and being like, oh, everything's just great. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, life, we can't just be happy, happy, happy all the time. That's just not how life works. But you can have tough stuff going on. You can have things that really hurt, you're not happy about, but you still have your peace and joy. Those are two different things. So, keeping track of what you're grateful for. I talked about a gratitude journal. So, have that as something that you can lean on. And then I also talked about the importance of moving your body. Movement is everything. And to stay in that, to keep that spark, that inner spark of joy alive, especially when things aren't really going along as you would hoped for in life, you got to keep moving. It's when we stop moving that it just, our whole energy level changes. I've been an avid supporter and believer in working out and moving our bodies my entire life because it truly has served me well, especially in the tough times. It's just those chemical changes that it does in the body. I mean, aside from a lot of the other health benefits, just the things that moving our body does for our brain alone is worth it. It is 100% worth it. So whatever that looks like for you, you're like, oh God, I'm not ready. I don't want to do a major workout. Look, moving our body can look a lot of different ways. There's so many things available to us to do. So being sedentary is not helping. If you are struggling with your joy, being and living a sedentary lifestyle is not helping that. And I'm sorry if that stings a little bit, but somebody's got to say it. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to rattle the cage a little bit because you got to hear it. When you move your body, it's going to serve your brain better. So keep those things in mind. Go back to that video if you need to watch that from earlier this month. I heard from a client this month that was struggling with the whole, keeping her joy in the midst of what was going on in her life and in her world. And she had shared quite a bit of that with me. And she wrote me back later in the month after we coached on a few things. And she said, I get it. It's different. By doing some of these practices, by making this part of my routine, it's stirring that up on the inside. I'm not letting all the outside circumstances really affect my inner joy. And she's starting to see that come back up to the surface. So the practices really do work. And I'm so glad that you wrote in and told me of that shift was happening. So keep up the great work. Okay, and so self-care, let's just cover that really quick before I dive into a couple questions. So self-care, physical well-being, I talked about that. Your emotional well-being, that's self-care. So physical well-being, your emotional well-being, you guys, all of that is self-care. And It's all of that and more. It's so important that, look, if you're not going to put yourself at the top of the list and take care of investing in yourself and giving yourself what you need, so mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all the areas that you can show up in your day to be your best. If you're not going to do it, who's going to do it? If you're not going to do it for yourself, who's going to do that for you? I mean, it's our own responsibility. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can then show up in our best, most powerful, amazing way and be there to do the things that we are honestly divinely set up to do, to live our life, to serve others, to all the roles that you serve in your life. There are other people that are depending on you and that turn to you. And I know you want to show up as your best self, most importantly for you, and also for the people that you care about. So do not underestimate the importance of self-care, because like, here's what happens. If you go too long without paying attention to how you're treating yourself, how you're talking to yourself, how you're caring for yourself, how you're nurturing yourself, how you're calming your nervous system, because let's face it, we live in a world that just has all this stuff coming at us all the time. Our nervous systems are like completely like at the top level, right? So we have to intentionally do things that calm our nervous system down. Maybe I need to do a month and talk about the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the longest running and most critical nerve in our body. It goes from the stem of our head, from the stem of our brain and down, and literally controls and orchestrates in every system in our body. And when you are not taking good care of yourself and your nervous system is going to tap out, like it just finally is like, I can't, I need a break. We're tapping out. When it does that, it affects everything in your system. So it is so important to make time for your own self-care. And like I said, nobody is going to do that but you. Nobody's coming, and honestly, nor do they need to, because it's not their responsibility to take care of you. It is your responsibility and your greatest duty to take care of yourself the best way that you can. All right, that was enough of that. So I'm so passionate about that. I'm so passionate about that because it's really sometimes the difference between what allows you to show up as your best self and live the life that you really want to live versus not. So let me see if there's anything else in here in the chat. Okay, great. So let me see. What was some of the questions? Oh, let me ask yourself this. I was going to say, let me ask you, ask yourself this question. In this month that we've been talking about this topic, what have you made more time for yourself? What have you decided you needed to devote more time to? Because it was just good for you, because it felt good, because it nurtured you, because it was good self-care, because it was good for your mind, your body, your spirit, any and all of those. What did you just decide that you decided to make more time for? And that was one of the questions that was in, I think, week 2. But if you haven't paused to ask yourself that, ask yourself that. What have you made more time for? All right, what are the questions? Okay, Christy, I have several big decisions to make at work. How do I know which how do I know which is the right one? I mean, I think I know the right decision or direction, but I can't get myself to actually do something about it. Oh my gosh, so glad this question came in. So glad this question in. My screen's weird. So glad this question came in. Thank you so much for that question, because trust me, someone else has that same situation or will have that same situation come up. So the reason, just to cut to the chase on a really quick answer before I go into a little explanation, the reason that you keep stalling out and you're not doing, like you know what decision you need to make, but you're not, and you're stalling out. The short answer is just fear. The short answer is fear, because you want to know that you're making the right decision, and you're wanting reassurance that it's the right decision. And I say the word scared, meaning in fear that it's not going to be the right decision. And so that's why you're stalling out, because it all comes back to fear of not really knowing. Because here's the thing. Okay, so here's the long answer. So you're holding out and you're stalling out, and it can't seem to actually make a move and make the decision to actually take the step. So yes, it's fear. And also, it's a matter of you wanting reassurance that you're making the right decision, but you won't know if the decision you're going to make is going to give you the result that you want. You won't know that until you make a move. Here's the thing. Every decision we make is not going to be golden. It's just not. I mean, think back over your life. Have you made decisions you were like, probably should have, maybe wasn't the most ideal decision at the time? Or maybe it's just like, oh my God, totally missed the mark on that one. That was a complete like do-over is needed on that decision. That's possible too. When you make a decision, you're making a decision based on, and of course, thinking that you've already like looked at all the angles. You're looking at your alternatives. You've thought it through. So now you've got to make a decision. You have to make a decision. You won't know if it's the right decision or the wrong decision until you make a decision. And when I say right or wrong decision, meaning that either you're going to make a decision that gives you the result that you were hoping for, or you're going to make that decision and it's going to give you a result that you weren't hoping for, the result that you didn't want, or it's going to give you, if it's in terms of job, maybe it's a sales related question or a marketing question. It's not going to generate the sales, or it's not going to generate the marketing traffic that you want. You won't know that until you make a decision. Here's the thing. It's not really a good or a bad decision. Most decisions, what that is, you have to change. And this is going to help you take away the fear of it. Okay. You have to flip the script on that. And when you're making a decision and then you get the result, it is information, period. Don't make it mean a lot more. So here's what some people do. They make that mean, oh God, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I made that decision. Or they make that mean, oh, I swear I make so many horrible decisions. Or they make it mean that I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, you see that pattern? No. You made a decision. Here's the result. It is information. You can't just make that where you personalize it that, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't make good decisions and that was dumb, that was stupid, I'm such a failure, yada, yada, yada. Okay? So you make a decision, it gets you a result or there's a response, and then that is information. Now, when you get that information, you can't sit forever and not make a decision, because that is making a decision. That is making a decision to do nothing. That is making a decision to do nothing, and that's not going to help you. It's not going to help you or the situation. That's just doing nothing. And the result of doing nothing is more of the same, maybe. Result of doing nothing is, if it's in business, that, that advancement, whatever goal you're working towards, you're no closer to it. So make a decision. The result of that decision is information. Take that information and now make another decision. At least you learned what not to do if it doesn't work out. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. Doesn't mean you're an idiot. Doesn't mean that, all the things that we want to try to our brain goes to work trying to remind us of things that haven't worked before. Okay. Doesn't mean any of that. You decide what it means. And what it means is information. It gives you feedback. So if that didn't get you the result that you wanted, now you get to reevaluate and decide again. My friend, it is all about progress and moving forward. We have to make decisions. We have to make decisions and move. Otherwise, we're stuck like a tree. Okay? So really it's about fear, and you need to, to really look at that deeper. You need to get, if it's really a big thing that you're having difficulty moving through, that's a great, something that you'll want to get some one-on-one coaching for, or reach out to your mentor at work for something like that. But 9 times out of 10, it's just fear-based. That's all it is. So I hope that's helped. That's given you some action items to do and a different way to look at making decisions. So the information you're going to get back from that decision, it's just that information. And you need to not internalize it and make it more. Christy, how do I say, so this isn't really related probably to anything this month, but definitely something going on with me personally. Chrissy, how do I say no to things that are taking up my time? I don't want to come off as selfish or that I don't care. Oh my goodness. This is a very, very, very common one. Extremely common. Well, there are many ways to say no. First of all, I want to say that, I commend you for recognizing that it's okay if somebody's asking you to do something, to help on something, to handle something. Can you pick up the dry cleaning? Can you, it can be at work, it can be in personal life, whatever. And they're asking you to do it, and you just know that you don't. That's okay. That doesn't make you selfish. That doesn't make you selfish because you don't want to drop absolutely everything all the time to help everyone. Does not make you selfish. What you need to develop, which I can tell that you're in this space of self-awareness. You're aware of how you feel about it, but you just don't know what to say because you don't want them to think that you're selfish or that you don't care. Maybe you ask the person, I don't know what specifically it is that you're having a hard time saying no to. From the context of your question and the paragraph before it, I take it that it's something in a personal realm, not in the work realm. And so I would say, there's many ways you can say no. In fact, I might just cover that next month, because I've got a great worksheet on that. So I think I might toss that into next month's session. Is there another way that I could support you? No, I'm not able to do that, but is there another way that I can support you in this project? That's like a way where you're saying no, but you're also offering, maybe they come back with something else that you could do to be of support, and that feels more aligned and that lines up with your life a little better. So I like that response, because sometimes they're just asking the one thing, but there's actually a whole slew of things that you could do to be of support. For instance, an example from a long time ago, but to work at a school event, to volunteer time there, I was working. I wasn't able to do that. It didn't work for me to take a chunk out of my day to go and do that particular month at the school, my son's school. So I remember saying, "Is there another way I could support you? I'm not able to devote that time to that event, but is there another way I can be of support?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah." I think I ended up drafting up some emails that they needed to be sent out for the group. And so I helped in that way. But they didn't bring that up. The first thing was they were needed people to actually physically go work at the event during the workday. So I remember asking that question. They were like, "Oh, well, actually, could you do this?" And I was like, "That's great. I can do that. I can work that into my day." So a lot of times it's just thinking of maybe there's something else you can do to be of support to the person or the event or whatever. Um, I really want to, the one thing I want to bring up right now that I feel the need to bring up is you're not selfish. And it doesn't mean you don't care if you say no. And I think a lot of times people get conditioned that we have to say yes because we want people to like us, two, approve of us. We don't want them to think we're a bad person. So a lot of those things have to do with our ego and worrying about what they think about us. My friend, it really matters what you think about yourself. You know you're not a selfish person. You know that you care for other people. So saying no isn't what makes you selfish or that you don't care. So I would explore that a little deeper with yourself and make sure you're not trying to be in people pleasing mode too much. People pleasing mode is exhausting for everyone watching this right now. People pleasing is exhausting. Why? One of the reasons is because every person is going to have a different expectation of what they want you to do. So now you got to please, it's like an audience that you're playing up to. And it's going to be exhausting. You have to stay true to what feels right for you, what feels aligned for you. And you can still serve and you can still give and you can still help and you can still do the things. But that doesn't mean you have to be the yes person all the time. I mean, think about it in parenting. If you're a parent, your kids, they come to you, they're always hoping to hear the word yes from their parents, right? Can we do this? Can we get this? Can I go over here? Can so and so come over? They're like, we constantly, when you're in the years of what I call active parenting, you're always a parent. But if you've chosen to have kids, you're always a parent. But in those active years, man, it's like you gotta you get up every day, you gotta armor up because you're gonna get hit with questions all day long. And they are hoping for a yes. It's like the perpetual sales call. I mean, that's how I always looked at it. I was like, man, I'm being sold all the time. They want a yes and a yes and a yes. But what do? There's some things we say yes to, and there's some things we say no to. That doesn't make parents horrible because they say no. There's a reason they say no. So they're not, hopefully, not worried about always being liked by their kids. Your job is a parent. So you have to know when to say yes and when it's good to say no, or do the best you can at that anyways. And so you don't run around going, oh gosh, I hope they like me. I hope they're not mad at me. I mean, who's the parent? Like, there's going to be some yeses to your kids' request and there's going to be some no's. That's just how it goes. So, same in life. You can't run around trying to like keep everybody happy, make sure everybody likes you because you'll wear yourself plumb out. Trust me. I see it happen all the time. I see it happen all the time. And people pleasing, I can't, it's too much to go into in this session, but people pleasing has like, there's so much background of what creates that more so in us, in certain people. So, and there's a way to work through that. There's a way to not be in that mode. But people pleasing is generally why people don't want to say no. And so they might not like your answer. And that's okay. Okay, let me see if any other questions have come in. Let me check my phone here on the emails. I'm so glad. You guys, I'm so glad that we've had such a good month. You guys are rock stars. You are just going through this material. And again, you do it at your pace, absolutely at your pace. Nope, that is all I will cover for today. I've got a couple more questions, but they're quite lengthy, so I'm going to reply to you directly. I will send you probably a voice text, and we'll chat that way. All right, thanks you guys so much for being here in the Flourishing Edge Inner Circle. This membership is meant to support you in your growth, in really in your personal growth, in your whole being. So things that you can apply at work, in your personal life, so that you can build the life that you truly desire. All of these coaching videos are available to you on the dashboard, and you can go back and rewatch any of them at any time. Okay, well, go make the rest of your day great. It's been awesome, and I'm looking forward to next month. I will see you guys next month. All right, take care. I want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the